The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, Chapter 15. In the morning the sun rose, and the cricket song gave way to the bird song, and the old woman came walking down the dirt road and tripped right over Edward. She said. She pushed at Edward with her fishing pole. Looks like a rabbit, she said. She put down her basket and bent and stared at Edward. Only he ain't real. She stood back up. She said. She rubbed her back. What I say is there's a use for everything, and everything has its use. That's what I say. Edward didn't care what she said. The terrible ache that he had felt the night before had gone away and had been replaced with a different feeling, one of hollowness and despair. Pick me up or don't pick me up, the rabbit thought. It makes no difference to me. The old lady picked him up. She bent him double and put him in her basket, which smelled of weeds and fish. And then she kept walking and swinging her basket and singing. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Edward, in spite of himself, listened. I've seen troubles too, he thought. You bet I have. And apparently they aren't over yet. Edward was right. His troubles weren't over. The old woman found a use for him. She hung him from a pole in her vegetable garden. She nailed his velvet ears to the wooden pole and spread his arms out as if he were flying and attached his paws to the pole with pieces of wire around them. In addition to Edward, pie tins hung from the pole. They clinked and they clanked and they shone in the morning sunlight. Ain't a doubt in my mind you're going to scare them off, the old lady said. Scare who off? Edward wondered. Birds, he soon discovered. Crows that came flying at him, cawing and screeching and wheeling over his head, diving in his ears. Go on, Clyde, said the woman, and she clapped her hands. You gotta act ferocious. Clyde? Edward felt a weariness so intense wash over him. He thought he might actually be able to sigh out loud. Would the world never tire of calling him by the wrong name? The old woman clapped her hands again. Get to work, Clyde, she said. Scare them birds off. And then she walked away from him, out of the garden and towards the small house. The birds were insistent. They flew around his head. They tugged at a loose thread in his sweater,